Now we'll do the tests with my final verdict for each of them, how they did, and which is going to draw the least power while keeping you toasty warm. Hi everyone, welcome back to my next video. Well, we're doing blankets today. It's November of 2023 while I'm shooting this, and winter is on its way. For some parts of the country, it's here. I know it's coming. It's just around the corner, so now is the time to be buying the things you think you want. Now, I have three of them here. This is the Sunbeam. It's 110 volt. And then here, this is a 12 volt, and it's just a standard cigarette lighter plug. And then finally, this is an electric, but this is a down puffy blanket. So both of these are electric. One's 110 and one's 12, but they're fairly heavy. I mean, they've got wires going all the way through them, and so they're kind of heavy. Now, this one is made by OneTigris. It's tougher and it's stronger, and that's why I'm recommending this. You know, if it's going to be kicking around and you're going to be sitting on it and throwing it around and storing it for long periods of time, having a good, really good fabric that's well sewn, and by being tactical, that's basically what it means. This is tougher than most products you're going to buy, so the OneTigris is something I highly recommend. I bought a lot of OneTigris products. I think they're great. I highly recommend them. I've been using this. Super warm, super light, very, very durable and reliable, and I really think you should consider it. Now, the main thing we're looking at on this video is 110 versus 12. You would automatically assume that 12 volt will draw less power, because for most of us, that's the question. Do I have enough power to run this thing overnight? Do I need to run it overnight? And so those are the questions we're going to want to answer today. You just automatically think a 110 blanket is going to draw a lot more power. But is that true? Or am I making an assumption that makes an ass out of you and me? So that's the big question. We're going to test the two for draw and see which ones puts out the less. A few of the facts about this. This is a Sunbeam. This is a big one. It's 84 by 62. It's twin, but man, that's really big. This will really cover you no matter the size of your bed, unless you got a queen or something. And it has 12 heat settings. So you can crank it down to 1 and it's barely producing any heat, or you can crank it up to 12 and it's cranking out the heat. It's possible, and I don't know yet, I'll find out and tell you, that the 110 volt blanket plug into the wall is actually going to draw a lot less power. That's really what I want to know. Now, this is a fairly standard 12 volt blanket. Most of them come with an auto shutoff. It's usually 45 minutes or an hour. And I don't like that. I went out of my way to buy one without an auto shutoff. It will just go on and stay on and won't go off. And the coldest part of the night is coming up in 3, 4, 5 hours. Just before sunrise is going to be the coldest. So if it only runs for 2 hours and it goes off, I'm going to wake up cold in the middle of the night and have to plug it back in and put it back on or add another blanket. There aren't many of them that have a selectable heat setting, but just as I was getting the last minute price on this, I found one by Sealy that looks exactly like this one. I'm sure it's a clone, except it had 3 heat settings. And so that could be a really good thing. You put it on low, it'll stay on low all the time, but with a blanket over the top, you might be very, very comfortable with low draw. I don't have one of those to test. Maybe I'll pick one up for you later. At any rate, that's what we're here to find out. Oh, and one other thing that this has, well, this goes on either for an hour or goes completely off. This one has a settable for hours. You can have it on for 5 hours and then it goes off. You could have it on for 8 hours and then it goes off. You can have it on for 15 minutes and then it goes off. Now, this one was $40, this Sunbeam 110 volt. This 12 volt Westinghouse. The 12 volt, this red one here is made by Westinghouse. And I did buy that name because I was hoping they would stand behind it more and it would be a better product. That's a shoot in the dark, whether that's true or not. And then this OneTigris, because it's down, the most expensive bedding you can buy, it's $70. So $70 for the down, $40 and $40 for the 2 electric blankets. Again, the 110 is the biggest. It's 79 by 55. The 12 volt Westinghouse is 59 by 43, substantially smaller, but big enough. I've slept under it, under 12 volt blankets, and that's big enough. It's not any extra, but it's big enough. And then this is 84 by 62 for the OneTigris puffy down blanket, which is really big, and I like it quite a lot. So now we'll do the tests, and we'll be right back with my final verdict for each of them, how they did, and which is going to draw the least power while keeping you toasty warm. Let's do that now. Okay, so let me give you my final thoughts on electric blankets. I have this 12-volt blanket made by Westinghouse. It's $36, and I think it's the best electric blanket, 12-volt blanket I've seen and used. It's thick, and it's pretend sheepskin, of course. I like the color. You may or may not, they come in other colors, but I like everything about it. So this does not have an auto shutoff. If it's plugged in, it's on. Now, well, for a lot of us, a very good choice is just to get it out on your bed, get the bed warm, and then when, an hour before, so it's really good and warm, and then turn it off and go to bed. Going to bed to a warm bed is a really, really good thing. And then in the middle of the night, maybe you have to get up once in the middle of the night to pee and you're cold, just plug it back in. So this comes extremely highly recommended. I think I might like this better than any of the others I've had. And I wanted to compare it to 110 volt. It's just a regular wall plug-in, and this one doesn't have a settable time. Most of them, you can program it to go off automatically in an hour, 2, 3. So that's called a duty cycle. It's not on 100% of the cycle. It's performing its duty some percentage. And my guess is 50% or less. And it has to be run on an inverter. Obviously, you have to have an inverter to run this. So let's give a thought about power use. That's really, really important to a lot of us. If you don't have a lot of power and you think, well, I can't use this. But it draws a surprising little amount. I plugged them into a Bluetti AC70, which has 760 watt hours of battery. It began the night at full, and I ran it for 8 hours. Now, most of us aren't going to run this more than 8 hours. So, that's about how long you're going to be in bed. You're going to be hot, and you're going to get up and go. So I tested them at 8 hours. So the 12 volt, it would drain it in 8 hours. After 8 hours, the battery was at 0, 1 or 2, 3%, just basically 0. So you couldn't run this overnight if you wanted to on an AC70. If you had a bigger system, then you could, because this is only 760 watt hours. It ran it completely dead in 8 hours. So that does make it pretty unusable to my mind. Now the Sunbeam 110 volt, and I ran it on, there's 12 settings. There's either 10 or 12 generally. This one has 12. And I had it set on number 3, which is pretty low. After 8 hours, it was at 50% on the same AC70. So it is drawing half the power. And that just seems really weird because this is drawing 100 watts and this is only drawing 60 watts. So how can that be? And I watched it, and like I said, it has a temperature, a thermometer in it, and it'll go off. And it was spending literally half of its time off. And so even though it's drawing more power, it's still much less. So that if you have an AC70 or a Jackery 500 or 700, whatever you have, and it's in the ballpark of 768 watts, this can run it because you still have half your battery left in the morning. You could only run this 4 hours to have half your battery left in the morning. Either of them are easy to do if you just want to have it an hour at night when you go to bed, hour or 2. You can set, this one has a user settable, and you can just buy one of these with the automatic shutoff. This is a OneTigris, that's the brand name. And I don't like the material this is made out of, but this is kind of a military tactical. OneTigris makes tactical stuff. And they're all twins. They're all twin sizes. And I bought this as a down blanket. It's kind of the thing they're thinking you're going to take it out on a picnic, or you're going to take it to a stadium and watch a game. You're going to be outside with it. I think because of the power, I would choose the Sunbeam 110 volt. That would be my final conclusion. Now you have to have an inverter, and there is more waste when you're using an inverter. But like we saw, in the real world use, it used half the power, even though there's some more waste in it with the inverter. The quality of this, the durability of this Sunbeam, I think will be far greater. So the pricing was $36, $40, and $70. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking for you now. I might keep the Sunbeam. I will definitely give the Westinghouse 12-volt blanket away. And I'm definitely keeping the OneTigris because on a cold night, you just pile on more blankets. So I hope this was helpful. It keeps you warm and toasty this winter, and you have a better van life experience because of it. That's the goal in everything I do. So if you got anything out of this video, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll talk to you later. And remember, when you come to the end of your life, look back and say, what a life I've had. I've packed every minute of it full of joy and some sorrow, but what a life I've had. Live your best life today, folks.